3:48 for 4. We do have the players out in the middle already, and these lunch intervals always fly far too quickly for my liking. But of course, many of you will be wanting the cricket. Lots of empty seats over there. People are obviously still enjoying their lunches. But, England in the hunt for wickets in this afternoon session. North and Clarke, of course, not out batsmen. Stuart Broad's going to bowl the first over, and CMJ is coming to my chair.
Thank you, Eggers. What great fun that was. What a master of timing, like all good performers. Max Boyce is, and we now know why IVA Richards went to Glamorgan. Clearly he thought they produced great bowlers in Wales. Helped them to a John, probably wasn't a John player in those days, but helped them to the Sunday League title, didn't he, at the end of his career. Back to the Ashes, 3:48 for 4, and the first ball after lunch is going to be bowled by Stuart Broad, round the wicket to the left-handed North, who plays it to mid-on. It's full length, about middle and leg. And there was no run. So Marcus North is still looking for his first run. Clarke is 19 at the other end. And the match has come nicely back into balance, at least, during the morning's play. A very good morning's play, and a good one for England, who most people reckoned were behind, really, when play started. Here's Broad again. He bowls just outside the off stump, angling in towards the left-handed North, who leaves it alone. Taken well above waist height there by Pryor, so it's not completely lifeless, this pitch. The new ball is now in its 10th over. The man out this morning: Katich 122, Ponting 150, and Hussey 3. Broad bowls on a full length, on driven, and North is off the mark with a fine shot for 4. Between the bowler and mid-on. Very good stroke indeed. Basically a straight drive, really, but he just had shaped his body to place it between the stumps and mid-on. And that is a pretty good way to get off the mark. 352 for 4. And they may only have had 2 practice matches other than the 2020, this Australian side, compared with 12. We were looking at the 1972 itinerary the other day, of which 11 were 3-day games. But it was enough to get North into form after a sticky start to the tour, and that looked the shot of a man in form. In comes Broad and bowls a good ball, which he has to adjust to fairly late. Played it really from the crease, weight on the front foot into the offside, and no run. Vic Marks has joined me on this cloudy afternoon, and the game's got to move on quickly if we are going to get rain tomorrow, Vic.
Yes, I mean, you keep hearing different reports. Some people saying, it's not coming till the afternoon, but that's the optimistic view, I think.
Yeah.
But anything can happen, we know that.
It's dangerous to rely on weather coming. In comes Broad and bowls just outside the off stump, and securely played by North. Very straight in defence. He's quite a tall man. Made a very good, if belated, start to his Test career.
It's a pretty, I don't know whether you can do it. I can, because I've been consulting Malcolm, but can you name his 5 counties? You know it's not Sussex.
with the
I can do it.
With the greatest of difficulty, Broad goes in, and that's pushed very straight again. Almost a carbon copy of his first runs, and it could go for 4 again. So chase brilliantly completed by Collingwood, who lost his handkerchief, I think, on the way, but who turned a probable 4 into 3 by scooping the ball back in the familiar manner of the modern fieldsman. But 2 very good shots by North. 355, and it would be true to say, I think, that Broad has been slightly the weak link in this attack.
Yeah, he has, but his figures certainly suggest that. He hasn't bowled badly, but he has looked less threatening, I think, than most. Good example. Nothing wrong with that last delivery, but plenty of time, it seemed, for North just to push it. Barely more than a defensive push, but he got 3 from it. And you wonder whether his calf is restricting him in any way. But also, whilst a lot has been written about Broad and we've all sung his praises by and large, he is still learning as a test match bowler, and his record still suggests that. He's going in the right direction, but he actually takes his wickets in test cricket at about 37 apiece, which is not McGrath territory, let's say.
No, I mean, his batting is
part of the equation that gets him in.
Yeah. Because just on recent form, I think Onions might have been a better pick.
Yeah, but he's a good all-round cricketer. He showed that in the Caribbean. He's not having a great game at the moment.
Nope. We're not quite at the halfway stage of it yet. So here comes Panesar, and he's nudged past the gully for a single by North to take him to 8, and the total to 366 for 4. Also slightly surprising, perhaps, if Broad has opened up after lunch.
Yes, you'd have thought after the break, if you all things being equal, you'd have thought it would have been a spinner plus probably Anderson.
Yeah. Left arm round Panesar from the river end. Buzz to Clarke, who comes forward and gets well forward to it, plays it between a little ring of close fielders to Pietersen at cover, and there's no run. Extra ease, really, Pietersen. There's a backward point as well. Cloudy now as Panesar bowls a slightly quicker one, which sits in the pitch, too short, and is punched away by Clarke, who's very quick on his feet, as we know, and I always think a lovely player to watch, and that was 4 very decisive runs to take him to 23 and the total to 360 for 4, and that really did stand up and ask to be hit, although it was not that dissimilar a ball, in fact, from the one that Ponting reckoned he could play exactly the same shot to, got his weight slightly wrong and played on. Panesar must try to bring Clarke forward, which he does. There's a lovely hitter of the ball through extra cover, Michael Clarke, but there he could only hit it as far as Pietersen in that position, didn't quite middle it. He's got a silly point, a slip and a forward short hovering. As Panesar bowls to him, he comes down the pitch, classical Australian use of the feet, and just pushes it back up the pitch. Panesar again round the wicket to Clarke, who's forward, pushing into the ground, and no run. I had the pleasure of watching Ed Smith making a very good 100 in the Cricketer Cup the other day for the Old Ton Bridges against the Marlborough Blues, and he won the match really with a quick 100 at the start of the game, and then got himself out, I don't say deliberately, but with the air of a chap who'd done his job. And he said a very interesting thing to me afterwards. He had scored a lot of runs on a slow pitch over the infield, and he said, and it was a very unusual, I suppose, for a school pitch. It was a very slow outfield, and that's why he'd used the aerial route. And he said too often in county cricket it's too easy just to hit the ball for 4 just like that. Yeah. And Australian batsmen with bigger outfields, often quite well grassed, learn to use their feet and which parts of the air to use. It's an interesting idea, isn't it? And true, I think. It comes Broad and bowls to North, who's very straight in defence on the back foot, and there's no run.
Well, it's a while ago now, but I remember playing grey cricket in Perth. And on most of the grounds, the outfields were that kind of couch grass, that thick blades of grass. Yeah. And they weren't quick. And I can relate to that it was a really good shot that got you 4.
Yeah.
You had to really middle it, otherwise it was 2 or 3.
There's Broad down the leg side. Poor ball, but Broad is happy. North is happy to let it go through to the keeper.
And it is a different game, though. You contrast that. 2 grounds we're familiar with. Hove at the moment went down there. The outfield's brown and the ball just speeds away. Taunton's the same at the moment. And defensive shots, unless there's a fielder in the way, will go for 4.
Yeah.
And it's bound to change the way you play a little bit.
It is.
Yeah.
Broad, long fair hair, very tall, goes in right arm over the wicket and bowls to North, who pushes to square leg. I suppose most people listening will have seen Marcus North bat, but if you haven't, and think of Michael Hussey, whom you probably have seen, they are similar, really. Both play very straight, both about the same height. Seen David Hussey got 100 as soon as he went back into the knot side. Can't be far down the list of potential Australian Test batsmen if there were injuries. In comes Broad and bowls just outside the leg stump, and it's turned away by North, to long leg where Panesar fields. Clouds just getting a little bit more threatening, but the forecasters were reasonably confident that we wouldn't get more than the odd sprinkle today. Trees at the river end opposite us are blowing about quite a lot. Lovely to see hills behind them, the Welsh hills. 361 for 4, and Clarke to face Broad for the first time. Broad trying to get the attention of Panesar down at long leg and ask him to go a bit squarer, which is now done. And he comes into bowl with a short extra cover, 2 slips in the gully to the right-handed Clarke, and again maybe he got a bit of reverse swing there. I don't know, it certainly swung in a little bit into the pads of Clarke. There was a extremely optimistic appeal, and they got a leg by. It's clearly missing leg stump. Pretty well placed here, absolutely right behind the arm. 362 for 4. England look a little bit lacking in zest at the moment. Broad over the wicket to bowl to North. That's a good ball on a length on the off stump, and North plays it safely to mid-off. The end of the over. He's obviously a very good player, North, for all those 5 counties, which you will now tell me. Sorry, Vic, I haven't got them
in any sort of chronological order.
He's got runs for the ball, is all I know.
Yeah. He hasn't played a lot for some of them, but Gloucestershire, Lancashire, Durham, Derby and Hampshire.
Amazing.
But that's the way of the modern world. But it's still pretty unusual for someone like that. But he's come in for 3 weeks here and 4 or 5 weeks there. I think he's played a full season for one of them. Might have been Gloucestershire, I think.
I suppose we'll have even more of that if this idea for 2023 overseas players does come to fruition.
Well, just the 2020 competition, we might.
Panesar left arm round the wicket now and bowls to Clarke, who comes down the pitch with dancing feet and pushes to mid-on. There's no run. Panesar bowling to the right-hander with a slip, silly mid-off, silly mid-on, mid-on, long leg, mid-off, extra cover, short third man and deep cover. He bowls to him, and Clarke was pondering a single there, but North said, no, I'm not coming, as Cook moved to a little tickle round the corner from short leg to get to the ball. Panesar to Clarke. Down the pitch he comes, drives to towards mid-off, doesn't reach mid-off because Pietersen intercepts. Panesar waiting for the ball to be rubbed to him by his batman. For him, rather, it's Anderson. Now he comes in, round the wicket, bowls to Clarke, that turns, but Clarke adjusts well, cuts it firmly, but he'll get frustrated soon, Clarke. He's hit quite a few to the... There are only 2 real one-saving fielders on the offside. Mid-off is in an interesting position, sort of halfway back for a miscued drive. Panesar bowls. He's got to tempt him to drive there. That was perhaps a wee bit too flat to persuade him to drive as opposed to just pushing forward. Crowd watching absorbed, although there are huge swathes of blue seats by the pavilion where they're still having their hospitality lunches. Panesar bowls. Clarke down the pitch, drives to that deeper mid-off position and is therefore able to because he's set back to take a pretty comfortable single to Swann, even though he hit it hard to him. Clarke 24, 363 for 4. It is lovely to see a batsman using his feet.
Yeah, and it's a nice duel between Clarke and Panesar at the moment, and it is unusual too. It's lovely and unusual. You don't see many modern players. You didn't even really see Ponting do that when he was playing against Panesar. Clarke's the only batsman we've seen so far who's inclined to use his feet against Panesar, who's trying to turn the ball away from him. You'd think it was slightly more risky to try and do that to Panesar than, say, Swann, who would be turning the ball into the right-hander, obviously. But he is fleet-footed, he's nimble on his feet, he is good to watch. I think he's a more controlled player now than he was 4 years ago.
Yes.
Remember, he was dropped after the 2005 Ashes series.
Yeah, that's right. Here's Broad and buzz outside the off-stump. That ball bounces a second time before he gets to Pryor, who I will tempt Providence by saying has kept wickets so far very well indeed.
Well, that's not necessarily tempting Providence. It's a fact.
Well, it is a fact, indeed it is, but you know what I mean.
Yes,
Poor old keepers, if they make a mistake, tends to become a talking point. He doesn't want to do it on Friday if it's going to rain on Saturday, you know.
No. Well, I'm sure he's not that calculating.
Broad in, he doesn't want to do it at all, of course. Bowls outside the off-stump, and again it barely gets through to Pryor.
Well, bowling speed, that's two. I don't think he's done it on purpose, but there are two deliveries from Broad there that come up at about 78 miles an hour.
It's either a master plan to get him to hit it in the air to mid-off or extra cover or something, or he's suffering still from this calf muscle, in which case, why is he bowling?
Well, we'll just keep an eye on the pace.
Yes. Away he goes from this Cathedral Road end, past umpire Alim Dar, under a cloudy sky, bowls outside the off-stump, and it's again taken at ankle height by Pryor. The bowling speed was
86.9. So I think he's shuffling it around a bit.
It's incredibly difficult from this distance and height to tell the speed, isn't it? I find it anyway.
Apparently, Graeme Swann was saying that he doesn't trust it last night.
Well, I mean, if that was really 86, it was pretty well a length ball. Why did it only reach Pryor at ankle height?
Because this is a very slow pitch.
Indeed. But the old one goes through over waist height. Away goes a fair-haired Broad. Bells from wider of the crease and securely played by Clarke. Head over the ball, playing it to short extra cover. Flintoff, hands in pockets, goes across for a chat with Pietersen, with whom he's talking as well to Bopara, who's at Pietersen's the middleman. Flintoff and Pietersen aren't supposed to get on, but they look happy enough together. Here's Broad, lovely cover drive by Clarke for 4 runs. Not far away from Anderson's left hand, but all along the ground anyway. Anderson is at short extra. And a half volley dispatched elegantly.
That's the sweeter piece of timing we've seen all day, I'd say. It wasn't a great delivery, but a big stride right out the meat of the bat. And he didn't think about running.
367 for 4, and Broad bows to middle and leg and is pushed to mid-on. Slight misfield by Anderson, so it wasn't Anderson, it was Swann actually who was at short extra, but that's the end of the over. Well, I'd change of bowling required, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's just no sense of expectation out there, particularly when Broad's bowling. Malcolm will hand over the statistical confirmation that he's probably England's least threatening bowler in the attack at the moment. 20 overs, 2 maidens, 0 for 94. And he's got enough bowlers in his team not to just act as a foreman and share out the overs, which is how the figures are looking at the moment. Anderson's bowled 20, Broad's bowled 20, Swann's bowled 22, Flintoff's bowled 22, Panesar's bowled 20.
I dare say, I mean, he probably would have liked Flintoff to have another hairy burst after lunch again, but I dare say they are aware of the mistake they've made in the last few seasons, not least Flintoff himself when he was captaining himself, and they mustn't overbowl him in the first test. It's a marathon, as Jeff Miller said. In comes Panesar. It's turned to short leg. Cook makes a good stop right-handed and there's no run.
Yes, I mean, I thought they might have bowled Anderson, who has, after all, got a couple of wickets today after the break.
Panesar over the wicket to the left-hander. That turns a bit. North plays it well. Off the back foot to backward point, where Broad fielded. Panesar very thoughtfully back. 2 or 3 catches to himself, and he comes in and is mown. Pull driven by North up towards the wide mid-wicket boundary. Between mid-wicket and mid-on. Very, very decisive stroke, very well executed.
Yep, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with the ball, actually. Outside off stump, but he knows exactly what he's doing, North. He's going to go over the infield. There's no one out on the boundary.
371 for 4. Panesar bowls to North again, and he looked as though he was going to leap out and drive that one, but he's got a big backlift, North. But it spun back. That was a length ball, and he left it alone in the end. 3 men run the bat. Panesar bowls to him again. He invites the drive, and North plays it carefully to mid-wicket. Here's another misfield. There have been quite a lot of unimportant misfields by England today, but on the whole they've fielded very well. But Pietersen is inclined to lose concentration at the last split second and not wait for the ball to get into his fingers. North just goes to do a bit of gardening, maybe a bit of chatting going on or something. Now he's ready. Panesar bowls to him, and he tries a repeat of that mown drive and hits it in rather ungainly fashion to mid-on. Ungainly in every sense, because there was no run. And Panesar just using the air quite well there. That was an interesting over. 371 for 4 it is.
Well, what I approve of is the fact that North played one big shot there successfully, which was the heave, if you like, the pull drive over mid-wicket. And Strauss, neither Strauss nor Panesar decided, we better have one out there straight away. So North, at the end of that over, still went for another big shot, and you're more likely to get a wicket if the batsmen are playing big shots, I mean by big, risky shots. And he didn't quite time that. It went to mid-on when he was probably aiming a little squarer than that. So it was a moral victory, but Broad is going to continue.
Yeah, there's some plan going on, but it's not clear what it is, because at the moment Broad doesn't look that threatening. Anyway, Jim Maxwell's going to come in and describe how he gets on. He'll probably get a hat-trick in this over.
Not now, he won't. You've tempted Providence again.
A hat-trick of 4s, is that what you meant?
I don't know.
A hat-trick.
It's all...
When did they last pass around a hat for a hat-trick? 110 years ago? They used to do it. Did they do it in the Lancashire League?
I'm sure they did.
I don't know about the hat-trick. You're getting a collection, certainly.
Yeah. There's 2 short covers, and Broad's bowling, and it's pushed away by Clarke into the covers. Sorry, Victor, where were you? Putting your hat on? Taking it off?
Well, I was trying to answer your question, but I don't know the answer, so I'll shut up. I don't know.
That never happened in your time?
Oh, certainly not. Well, I don't know. I'd never got a hat-trick. I must have witnessed.
Did you ever get a hat-trick?
No. Oh, well, I did, actually, when I was 9.
Right.
But in a sort of under-11 game somewhere. I might even be able to find the ball.
That's something to treasure. Wide of the off-stump, Clarke tries to chop a short ball, gets to the bottom edge, and it bounces through to the keeper. But was that the story, though? Did they pass the hat round? Is that why it was a hat-trick? Or did you get a hat when you managed to get 3 wickets and 3 balls as your reward?
We're working on it.
Malcolm's working on it. Good. Just a bit of trivia in the afternoon. Australia have lost 3 wickets today. England have taken 3 wickets. And Katich was after 122. Here's Broad. He bowls to Clarke. It's short, and he's on the back foot. With steerage, he sends it away to a deep point because there's slow bounce in the pitch. which probably accounted for, in part, Ponting's dismissal. Trying to force a ball that just did not come, and he edged it into his stumps. He was out for 150. Katich leg before to Anderson for 122, and Hussey is in test matches just still a bit below his original debuting form. Caught Pryor, bowled Anderson for 3. But North's looking composed. He's played nicely down the ground. He's 13. Clarke is on 29. 2 slips, a gully, a point, short cover. Nope, we're not going to do that. We're going to swap the field around, says Strauss. And he's putting Flintoff in at short cover, and he's going to go for 2 gullies. So a whitish slip and 2 gullies. Broad runs into North, who leaves the ball. He's got a funny little pickup and then gets himself across. But that's the spot to bowl. They've been doing their homework. Just slant across him and hope that they can get it in a spot where he might nick it. But Broad didn't take the second new ball. It was shared between Anderson and Flintoff, who bowled with good pace, some swing, and a load of aggression, particularly from Flintoff. Broad bowls again, pitching up at North, who comes forward and eases it down towards Collingwood out there at mid-on. The hat-trick.
The hat-trick, associated with sports, succeeding at anything 3 times, generally in 3 consecutive attempts. The term was first used in cricket to describe H.H. Stevenson's feat in 1858 and was used in print for the first time in 1878.
Broad runs in to bowl, wide of the off stump, and North allows it to pass.
I think it's a bluff. I think you're bluffing.
The reason it's called the hat trick, according to this, is that taking the 3 wickets and 3 balls entitled the bowler to receive a hat from his club commemorating the feat.
You knew that all the time, didn't you?
It's a top hat too, wasn't it? It's not a cap. I mean, it's a hat. So I assume it would have been a top hat, wouldn't it?
No specific type of hat is mentioned, but one would think it was a top hat. You put it upside down and rest the ball on it, wouldn't you? Like a trophy plinth or something.
There you are. Maybe that could be a new award to have up the sleeve. A top hat ready for the next hat-trick.
Broad does not look like he's going to get a hat-trick, doesn't he?
Didn't look like it in that over, really.
Yeah.
No. Well, Panesar, he'd look interesting in a top hat as he has Clarke pushing forward and the ball rolls back down the pitch. Not sure how well it'd fit. But it would. It would. What he'd like to do at the moment is deceive Clarke, who's using his feet. He likes to get on with things against spin, and he's on the back foot. He's cutting off the stumps. He'll get a run to backward point. As it's fielded down there by Strauss running around to his left. But he's a busy man at the crease, Clarke, against the slow bowling.
Impish, isn't he? He is using his feet more than any of the other Aussies against Panesar. And he's always looking to get off strike. He's got 30. He's seen the ball pretty well. He's played 1 or 2 beautiful drives off Broad, a lovely cover drive after lunch. And he's on his way now. He's not exactly looking settled because he's going forward, going back against Panesar. But he seems in control.
There's a real eagerness about him, though, against the slow bowling. And he'd like to go through the line and play lofted drives sometimes, but it's not easy on this pitch as North's forward and it comes off the pad to Cook. The crowd hoping for a catch. You could hear them, but there was no reaction on the field. Straight off the pad, but a little bit of bounce. Encouragement for Panesar.
Out of the rough, turned quite a long way.
Did. And his bat was, as it turned out, nowhere near it. And the next ball is right up there again. The sniffers are in. They've got an under the nose and a short leg. Bopara's right under the nose. At silly point, Collingwood had slipped. And the Panesar just trying to make something happen here. North's a tall man, he's got a good stride, and he's forward and pushing away to Cook under the leader short leg. It's 4 for 373. North 13, Clarke 30. And Australia on measured progress against some better directed England bowling today. A bit more venom certainly in the attack with the second new ball, and Panesar's going fairly well. He's at North, and North gets a good ball that comes off his body and pops in front of a diving Bopara. That turned and bounced a bit. So, interesting signs there. Can Panesar get it on a bit of a string and collect a wicket or two to keep this game bouncing along? 4 for 373 at the end of the over.
Well, he's certainly bowling better than he has done earlier in the match. He's getting the ball to turn, not viciously, but it will turn, sometimes out of the rough, sometimes just off the batting surface, and causing North in particular a few problems. He'll be enjoying this, Panesar, because he's been treated in this little passage of play by Strauss as the number one spinner. He's been the first choice, and of course he's been superseded in the last 6 months or so by Graeme Swann. Certainly that was the case in the Caribbean, and it was also the case in India. But he's the man with the ball, not Swann at the moment. He's probably bowled a bit better than Swann in this innings.
2 short covers again as Broad bowls to Clarke. Clarke leaves outside the off stump. Again, the ball struggling to get through to Pryor outside the line. So they've got the slip in the gully, a deep point, 2 short covers, no doubt in the hope of something lofted. And mid-off and mid-on. Deep backward square and a long leg down there. Panesar had one go right over his head earlier for 6 from Ponting off a top edge. As Broad bowls the bouncer, and Clarke says no, not interested, and he just got out of harm's way as it went over his shoulder. In fact, it was an interesting moment, Flintoff versus Ponting. He dropped it short. Unfortunately for Flintoff, it was a no ball, apart from the fact that it went for 6, but it flew off the edge. And the short boundary down there, Panesar threw up his hand, but it crashed into the advertising hoarding for 6. The only 6 of the match so far. Broad's coming in. Another bouncer. Clarke not interested. Well, to be honest, he might be a bit more interested if you bring the bloke in at backward square. He still may not play the shot. But, just a bit of a carrot needs to be dangled. And that's not quite tempting enough so far for Michael Clarke. He's just waiting. And now what's Broad going to do is he's got a little change of pace up near the off stump to try and draw Clarke into a uppish offside shot. And what are the tactics? Here comes Broad to bowl, and Clarke is going back. Another bouncer. Well, they weren't particularly high bouncers, I suppose. So he obviously hasn't exceeded his limit for the over, with 3 short pitched balls going past his left shoulder. 4 for 373. The band strikes up. Rule Britannia. We had another powerful rendition of Jerusalem to start the day. And it's Broad from the Cathedral Road end who bowls to Clarke, and Clarke comes forward and plays the ball away off the bottom part of the bat out on the offside. Again, slow, low bounce around that off stump. So there's a bit of work to be done here to try and get another wicket. There's not much evidence of any swing from Broad, certainly not when he bowls bumpers. And the rest of the stuff has gone through outside the off stump without much deviation. Around the wicket, changes the line. He comes to Clarke. Clarke forward. He's hit on the pad, but it pitched outside the leg stump, even though it may well have been going on to hit the stumps. And Broad's appeal goes wafting off in the breeze as Alim Dar simply said, over. It was a maiden over. It leaves Clarke on 30, North 13, and Ian Chappell's slipping back into the seat alongside me as we settle into the afternoon play with Monty Panesar producing a sharply turning delivery in the last over out of the rough.
Yeah, he's. I don't think he's fooled the batsman with his flight enough, but I think he's bowled certainly a hell of a lot better than Graeme Swann in this game. Definitely out-bowled him.
He's having another go at North here. He bowls and he sweeps off a top edge. There's no one around the corner, and that should run away to the boundary for 4. A juicy top edge. It's going to be collected by Flintoff below me. Didn't see him out to the right there, but he was down a deep backward square. That went more in the direction of short, fine leg as he tried to sweep and didn't control it, but picked up 2 runs nonetheless. Right in that corner of the ground at deep backward as North bowls and goes to short leg. Flintoff's down there. Mid-wicket's out. Mid-on's back. There's a short mid-wicket with a short leg mid-off. Big hole in the offside field round a point with a silly point and a first slip. Collingwood's waiting there. Over the wicket, Panesar comes up. North goes back with the spin, turns it around the corner and moves to 16 and the score to 376.
I really think he should bring Flintoff up into the 45 on the 45-degree angle behind square, saving the one, and also in a position to catch that top edge, because North tries to sweep from well outside off stump, and if it does bounce a little bit and he gets the top edge, that's where it's going to go, to that 45-degree position.
A burble in the crowd and a quick ball in at Clarke from Panesar. Was whirring in at his pads, but he kept it out on the bounce to Cook in close. And this is where the game can get a bit more interesting to watch, with Clarke facing Panesar, because he's so busy out there, eager to get going. He's down and he's driving. That's what he wants to do. A lofted drive for 6 over long off. He's been wanting to do that for some time, and at last he got one that had a bit more flight, and he got down and under it and hit it decisively for 6.
I think one of the differences I'm seeing in Panesar's bowling compared with his early days when he was more successful, I think he's undercutting a bit with his wrist rather than having his wrist more upright and getting some dip on the ball.
He bowls short at Clarke, who chops it to backward point without timing, and Strauss fields. It ends the over with Clarke 36 and the score 4 for 382.
I mean, you're probably not talking many degrees in angle with the wrist, but and I think that's why he's not fooling batsmen so much in the flight, because when he keeps the wrist more upright, you come over the top of the ball and you can toss it a little higher. Even bowling at the pace that he's bowling at, you go a little bit higher, but because you've got so much more revolutions on the ball, you get a bit of dip on the thing. But if you're undercutting it, it then tends to come out very flat, and you won't fool the batsman through the air. And as a spinner, you must fool the batsman through the air, really, to beat him off the pitch. I mean, sure, you'll get the odd one that'll pitch in the footmarks and spin a long way, but in general, you've got to beat the really good players through the air to beat them off the pitch.
Who was the best at that? Beatty?
Prasanna, mate, for best opposing spinner I faced.
Here comes Broad. He bowls down wide outside the leg stump, and North lets it go. Prasanna and Beatty then together, but the ball was never quite there when you went to drive?
I said to Praz once when I was playing against him, I can't quite tell you exactly how I said it, but I said, you little so-and-so, I said, you've got a string attached to that ball, and I said, you let it go, and I come out of my crease thinking I'm going to get to it on the full of the half volley, and just as I'm about to, you pull that string and drop the ball back, because I could never ever get to him on the full of the half volley.
Broad bowls just outside the line, and it's allowed to pass by North through to the keeper. Do you see any of the current crop of bowlers around the world who have the ability to do that?
Oh, well, Warne, obviously, that was one of the great things with Warne, dropped the ball, and Warne dropped and curved the ball. I mean, Hauritz, when Hauritz is bowling really well, he curves it away more than drops it, that's how Freddie Titmus used to bowl a lot, curve the ball away.
Broad in short, and he tries to pull, but misses out. And the ball takes him on the body, just undone by a bit of slower bounce, and it took him on the thigh pad and went away on the offside.
I think that's one of the things that Jason Crazier's got going for him as an off spinner. I first saw him when he in the nets for New South Wales many years ago before he went to Tasmania, and I thought then that he put a lot of work on the ball. I think the only thing that Jason Crazier needs to learn is a little bit of variety. I think he bowls too many balls at the same pace with the same flight.
Broad runs in closer to the stumps but bowls a short ball. He's having a go at North in this over at times by pitching short, but he's been wayward. And there's no result from North with a deep square and a deep backward square at 4 for 382.
I think Broad needs to be a bit more patient on this pitch. I mean, there might be other pitches where he can shake batsmen up, but I think if I was his captain, I'd be saying to him, mate, if you can bowl me 30 overs and get me 3 for 80, I'll be delighted.
He's running into North back and pulls the ball in front of square out to deepish mid-wicket where Bopara comes around, and he pounces quickly and gets rid of it, which ensures 1, not 2. North moves to 17 now. 17. 4 for 383. He's trying to get the batsman to attack him, challenge the batsman with short stuff, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's for him. I mean, Flintoff might be able to do it on this pitch, but I don't think Broad is quite quick enough to do it on this pitch. There'll be other pitches where he could do it. Lords is one where he might do it.
He bowled 3 shorties to Clarke in the last over, and now he bowls just outside the off stump. And once more, the slow bounce causes Clarke to wait and just prodded out on the offside. Ian, I'll leave it with you. Jonathan Agnew is coming in with Australia 4 for 383 after being 4 for 348 at lunch.
I mean, it's good to see aggression in a young pace bowler, but there's also times when you've got to be a bit patient, and I think this is the sort of pitch where Stuart Broad does need to be a bit more patient, and his captain also needs to get with him and say, right, I'm going to place a field for you. Not just a straight-out defensive field. I'm going to place a field for you which lets the batsman know that you're still trying to get him out, but it's going to make singles difficult so that you're going to have him on strike for a while and you can work at him, and just be patient. Don't be trying a whole lot of different deliveries. Just dry the runs up for a little while and let's see what happens. Something I learned from an old skipper of yours, Raymond Illingworth, was very good at it.
The finest, though, I thought. In comes Panesar over the wicket. This is turned away by the left-handed North to mid-wicket. And there's no run. He was the master at keeping people dangling on a string, wasn't he, and encouraging them.
Well, the art of pulling back a little bit, but still letting the batsman know that you're trying to get him out. He was very good at that.
Panesar, much quicker ball, and there's a hit on the pad, an appeal from Pryor. First of all, Panesar a bit late to join in, hasn't impressed umpire Doctrove at all. Not a lot does, actually. He's given 1 decision in the game. He might have given a few more than that. 383 for 4 is a much quicker ball from Panesar. It struck him a long way outside the line of the off stump, so it was a good decision.
How often have you said that Pryor has started the appeal before Monty?
Well, not often, actually. Panesar's normally the wildest appealer of all. That's tackled away. Catch it, they shout. And it's actually picked up in the end by Collingwood, running around from slip to leg slip. But did come off the bat because there's no signal from Mr. Doctrove. But no one there to take the catch. 384 for 4. I think Monty's slightly restrained his appealing, actually.
I think he might have been told to, hasn't he?
Possibly.
You see, here's things, that you've got to notice as a captain. I said before, with the way North sweeps, that you've got to have that 45-man up just by the square leg umpire. Okay, that one wouldn't have quite carried to him, but you've got to have him there.
Panesar round the wicket. Clarke comes dancing down the pitch and drives carefully along the ground to long off. Wasn't a powerful stroke, but he knew there was one there. 385 for 4, so 50 behind now, Australia. Yeah, it's not the first time he's done that, is it, in this innings already? Just paddled it round there, it's gone in the air.
Well, because he tries to sweep from well outside off stump, and if Monty gets one to bounce a bit, which he does occasionally, then that's exactly where it's going to go off the top edge.
Panesar over the wicket. Again, that very quick arm ball, almost medium pace that. Turned away into the leg side. They'll want 2. They'll get them as well. Chase there for the fielder coming in from deep mid-wicket. We're redefining sweeping from wide outside the off stump after Pietersen's dismissal, by the way.
Yeah, what are you calling it now?
Well, I don't know, but that surely it sort of extended the boundaries, isn't it?
You know what I think? I think a few more international captains should play billiards. To get the angles, off the cush, see how the ball. I mean, it's a big help, I think, to get your angles right.
Tossed up by Panesar, pushed away by North into Bopara's knees there. He's got the padding on. It's the end of the over. Ardy Moore is a sort of pool man in the bar, Ian, rather than a billiards man in the club.
You were?
No, I see you.
No, I was a snooker player I mean, it's a bit the same. Snooker, same sort of thing. I'm only being half joking in saying that because, as a captain, you've got to look at the way a guy plays, and particularly with spinners, work out where, if he top edges, where's the ball most likely to go. For instance, if you've got a leg spinner bowling and the guy's trying to sort of loft you over wide mid-on, a guy like Warne, for instance, who curves in and spins away, if he edges it, it's going to go to that backward point area, and so backward point almost becomes a catching position for a good leg spinner if someone's trying to. So you've got to know all those angles, and it does help to have played a bit of billiards or snooker, take your pick.
Were you any good?
I was a steady player. I got taught by a very good snooker player in Adelaide. And he taught me how to play safety. So I wasn't a bloke who made big breaks. 16, 20 break. If I had a real good day, I might occasionally get a little more than that, but not much. But I could always play safety. So you keep yourself in the game.
Long, boring game. Like playing snooker with Geoffrey Boycott, by the sound of it. In goes Swann, and he bowls another low full toss. He started this off amazing. His first balls of a number of overs today have been low full tosses, and that was one that was driven straight to mid-off by rather surprised Clarke. And Swann hasn't been in his best today.
It's almost like he's nervous, isn't it?
Over the wicket he goes. Bowls, and that's a better one, which Clarke smothers. And it's fielded by Cook at short leg. Just one slip and a forward short leg. It's quite an interesting contrast, actually, the much more attacking field that they've had for Panesar. Backward point, extra cover, mid-off, mid-on, short mid-wicket, then 2 out on the leg side boundary at mid-wicket and deep backward square. Swann bowls on the off stump. Forward comes Clarke, trickles away into the offside, picked up by Anderson. 387 for 4 on a cloudy afternoon now. It feels and looks rather chilly, if you know what I mean. It's got that little appearance now. It's not a friendly sky at the moment. And then goes Swann. Bowls, and Clarke had to change his mind. I think he was going to come down the pitch at him, and then he went back again and rather prodded that to Strauss at mid-wicket. Bowling figures-wise, Anderson 2 for 74, Broad no wicket for 96, hasn't been at his best in this game for sure. Swann's in his 23rd over now, no wicket for 62. Flintoff 1 for 74 from 22, and Panesar 1 for 69 from 24. In goes Swann again. Clarke's down the pitch, driving into the offside, beats extra cover. Broad will cut it off at wide mid-off, but not before they've taken a single to take Australia to 388 for 4. Men out today, Katich for 122. That stand worth 239 in the end with Ricky Ponting, who made exactly 150. And he went to cut Panesar, got a thick edge, and it ricocheted into his stump. So not the most luckiest of dismissals for Ricky, who I can see sitting on the balcony there now reading a newspaper. And actually, it's not the sort of newspaper I necessarily think Ricky Ponting would read either. That's quite an upmarket one, that, Ian.
OK, which one is it?
Well, it used to be a broadsheet, but there aren't many of those these days, are there? In goes Swann, round the wicket, bowls, that spins away, hits Bopara, no, in fact, it just goes past him. I thought he flinched and it hit him, but it's gone for 4. Good stroke, effortlessly put away. And again, a disappointing over, I think you have to say, from Graeme Swann, who just hasn't got it right in this innings so far. That was short, and although North got himself in a good position to play the shot, it rather asked for it.
Well, it's what would be concerning me if I was an England selector, and probably more so if I was the England captain, is the variation in length for a finger spinner. From the first ball, which was an absolute full toss, to the last ball, which was the long hop. So you shouldn't be getting those sort of variations in length from a finger spinner, not at this level of the game.
No, that was again, not a very encouraging over. Strauss is pottering off to ever think about things.
He looks to me a little bit as though he's putting it there at the moment, which is either nerves or low on confidence.
And unlike him, A, because he's a very confident man, and B, because he does normally give the ball a good spin.
Yeah.
392 for 4. Panesar's going to continue. He's bowling to Clarke, who has 30. North has moved on quietly to 24. And Clarke looks over his shoulder. He sees Broad down here, standing with his hands on his hips at deep backward square leg, and Panesar round the wicket, tosses that up on the leg stump. Catch it, they shout, the ball dribbles away, and Cook's there on his hands and knees to do the fielding. Clarke goes gardening. 392 for 4. And in comes Panesar round the wicket. Clarke forward, plays up to short extra cover, and there's no run.
Well, they've put the man back at mid-off now, or long off, where Clarke hit the 6. So they're trying to stop him from hitting down the ground.
Panesar on the leg stump, turned away around the corner. Trots after it. He's had a tidy game so far. He hasn't put a foot wrong. He's taken a couple of catches. Of course, he's batted well. But, key to it all is how he keeps with the spinners going. Well, he's done a good job so far. Panesar spins himself a catch, comes wading in round the wicket. There he is. That much quicker ball again, really fired in. Pryor has the bails off. I don't think Clarke even looks he was going to leave his ground there. 392 for 4. Pryor waves his hand at somebody. Comes Panesar again, pushed away into the offside. That rather hurried Clarke, but again it was delivered at quite a pace. It's quicker than you normally see Panesar bowling. He really fired that in very quickly indeed, and didn't turn much, but certainly hurried Clarke. This next one turned away, pushed away through mid wicket. They'll get a couple of runs there. 2 more to Clarke. 394 for 4. So Australia 41 behind. Good battle today. It's been a good battle throughout the match. Yeah.
Am I right in saying that Monty doesn't have the sort of classical arm ball of a left armour?
Correct. Swann bowls that spins way outside the off stump. It's where I rather disagree with Jeffrey, because Jeffrey's said, leave him alone. Don't encourage him to develop and try new things, which actually leaving him alone and not developing new things is what has put Monty where he was at the start of this summer, which is out of the side. Here's Swann, and that's a good ball, it's spun away, well played by North, creeping away to Panesar at backward point. When you have to keep developing a game, don't you?
Most definitely. So is that quicker ball we saw a couple of times in the last, so that's the attempt at the sort of arm ball, is it?
It is, and he unveiled it in the West Indies when he came back into the side there at the end of the tour. This is pitched up on Midland leg, better this so far from Swann, North forward. That's fielded by Bopara. But it just stuck out like a sore thumb, because he was bowling it out the same, and suddenly in went a ball like Dennis Lilly. It's a very quick ball, isn't it? Yeah. But what actually people have been looking for him to do is actually just give it a little bit more air, that's all, because he was played too easy, particularly in the subcontinent. That's too short from Swann, pushed away to extra cover, and people just knew where the ball was going to be, what pace it was going to be, and
I think it's to do with that wrist position. I think he's undercutting a bit rather than get the wrist up a little more upright. It's probably only a few degrees.
Yeah. Swann outside the off stump, and North lets it go by. But I think in international sport, whatever it is, you've got to keep learning, haven't you? You've got to keep pushing, you've got to keep trying new things, because people do get used to it. In cricket these days, there's so much of it played, so much of it filmed, shown on telly around the world, that people just can almost play you by watching you in the end. This is on the leg stump. A howl from Pryor, nothing from Swann. Leg side-ish that as North came forward. 394 for 4. Better over. Felt like a maiden, Malcolm. It was. Okay, we haven't had many of those. Our balloon man is back, firing off a blue one, which dies and fizzles into the outfield. Must be having an amazing balloon sail here in Cardiff, because he flew off yesterday.
I think, getting back to Monty and his wrist position and so on. I mean, the point you're making is the guy up the other end with the willow in his hand. He's looking to develop and improve all the time, and he's looking to work you out, see what you're doing, what you've got. I mean, that's. I'll give you John Snow as a classic example. Every time I played against John Snow in a new series, there was something that I hadn't seen before. You'd be facing him, and you'd think, I've seen the repertoire. Oh, hang on, where did that come from? It'd be a slower ball, or he'd suddenly slow one up and swing it a little bit. Every time I met him in a new series, there'd be something different. So that's confirms your point.
Well, I just think you have to. Panesar, that's a slower one, tossed up more, driven up to mid-on. and there is no run. I mean, unfortunately, what has happened to Panesar, although he's bowled much better here today, but he's clearly not had a great season, is that in trying to do something different, it's just knocked off his stable game, where his baseline, if you like, is just pushed away off the front foot to extra cover. 394 for 4. So he has been trying, but unfortunately, through trying, it's just unsettled his sort of steady game, if you like. And it comes again around the wicket. That's kicked away by Clarke. Catch it, someone shouts. It bounces well in front of Flintoff, coming in from backward point. But it's odd that he's had so much success in England and he's taken his wickets very quickly. But it was on the subcontinent. We would expect him to be very successful, not only just in India, but Sri Lanka as well also. Here he comes around the wicket, bowling again, flat outside the off stump, cut by Clarke, fielded by Flintoff. That he hasn't been successful.
I think he's a better bowler when there's a bit of bounce there for him, so maybe that explains why he struggled a bit in the subcontinent. I mean, Old Trafford's been one of his great grounds, a lot of bounce there. Yep. I think he's done quite well at Lords, hasn't he, as well? Bit of bounce there.
Yeah, no, he's taken a lot of wickets in England. Perth too, of course. It's just chopped hard by Clarke off the back foot and picked up on that point boundary by Pietersen. He got 5 for there, didn't he? That match
5
he played,
Perth, yeah.
So again, that suggests that he likes the bounce. 395 for 4. It was really the game in Chennai before Christmas where Tendulkar scored that brilliant 100 and India knocked off that enormous score, which I can't remember what it was now, but heading towards record territory, and it was there that England's inability to stop them from doing so really focused the spotlight really on Monty. Over the wicket, a very quick ball again, turned away into the leg side. Cook is the fielder. 395 for 4 in reply to England's 435. Monty pulls on that little top that they wear these days. You can't really call them sweaters. They're they are tops to go with this very white outfits that England and in fact West Indies, I noticed they were wearing them in the series when they came here, compared to the old creams that the Australians are wearing. It's rather like watching an advert for washing powder, isn't it? And that there's one out there that always washes cleaner. You could always use it, couldn't you? Whereas the Aussies,
whiter than white, wasn't it? Wasn't that the saying in the
ad?
That
was one of them, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas the Aussies, I'm afraid, just look a little bit grubby, only because they're wearing creams, whereas England have got this rather sort of brilliant white. There's another low full toss. What's he up to? And Clarke again doesn't make the most of it. It came off the bottom of the bat, and Bopara fields at extra cover.
To be fair to Swann, on that occasion, at least Clarke had come out of his crease to get it on the full.
You always predict what he's going to bowl now, first ball. And he goes again. Clarke comes down the pitch, and Swann this time gets his length right. And Bopara again fields at extra cover. Very quick Clarke. Quick on his toes, isn't he? One of those nimble movers. Very good record in the Ashes. And this one spins, hits his glove, goes past Cook there, some excitement. It didn't go to hand. 395 for 4. The Aussies are recovering at New Road. Well, they were 28 for 5, now 120 for 5. So a good effort there by Australia's women. Bring Catherine Brunt on again, I say. And goes Swann, bowls. Forward comes Clarke, playing back up the pitch. Love to talk to Jack Birkinshaw during lunchtime. Remember old Jack?
Yeah, I ran into him during the T20, in fact at Lords before the final.
Yeah, he's a great man. And in fact, you mentioned Railingworth, of course, who was captain of Leicestershire when Jack was there as well. Clarke down the pitch, drives it off, going for a single. Broad can't stop it. 395 for 4. And Illy, a bit of a so-and-so sometimes. He'd bring Jack on for the last over before lunch. Of course, if it turned, spun, thanks Jack, and of course Illy would be on straight after lunch, and that'd be it. You wouldn't see Jack again. So he was a bit of a pitch tester, old Jack, for Raymond. Now then, don't forget email. I'm about to get out of here in a second. Email tms@bbc.co.uk. That Aussie text as well. Here's Swann forward. That's pushed away into the onside. The text from Australia 199 21222. Of course in the UK 84040. If you're watching and enjoying the cricket, and drop us a line. 395 for 4. So Australia now just 40 behind. More from Ian Chappell, and then Henry Blofeld's looking predatory behind me here.
Well, it's been a battle for the Australians, but I think the big difference, if you're looking to sum up the difference in the batting between England and Australia, England, most of their players, their top order players, got going, but I guess you'd bring it down to application to go on and get something big. Obviously, Katich and Ponting doing that better than most.
And it's Panesar again from the tough end in, bowls that Clarke, who drives, and it was fielded there by Bopara. Strauss, I may have got a hand on that short extra cover, taken a little bit of the way off it, but Bopara's fielded very well. He's very quick. And Panesar once more. In, up to the wicket, bowls, and this time it's short and it's pulled away by Clarke to the mid-wicket boundary for 4. That was a gimme, and he took it very well indeed. So that is the 400 up. And Clarke goes along to 46. You were talking with Agos about Panesar. The fact that he can't bowl the variations without it upsetting his normal game really ultimately shows that he's limited.
Well, I mean, I think the problem he seems to have at the moment is that wrist position. I'm convinced that's that might be, it might not be the whole problem, but I think it's part of the problem. But you know what you're looking for with a spinner is, even if he's not getting wickets, if he's fooling the batsman in flight, reasonably regularly. And I haven't seen that as much as I would have liked to have seen that from Monty or from Swann as well.
Well, yes, and now we've got Strauss, who's gone across himself from extra cover to mid-wicket, blocking the gap, so to speak, too late. Perhaps Panesar bowls again, and Clarke just comes forward, takes it on the body, and the ball flies away to Cook at forward short leg. We've got a slip, a deep cover, an short extra cover, the 3 men on, and a long off. There's the 4 men on the offside. Panesar's in again, bowls to Clarke, who turns this round the corner easily, and down it goes to Broad, coming in off the fine leg boundary, and they run a single. 401 now for 4, and Clarke goes along to 47. And Ian Chappell has suddenly become Geoffrey Boycott. Geoffrey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, it's unfortunate that 4 off Panesar, because they'd just begun to dry up the runs a little bit. It didn't look as if they're getting people out, but they were doing what you should do.
Panesar bowls to North. North goes and sweeps at this, and it goes out there to Flintoff over there, deep. I did know it's not, it's Anderson at deep mid-wicket, and they get just the single. Anderson getting it back very quickly indeed. 402 then for 4, and 25 now to the left-handed North. It brings Clarke back into strike. And we now got a short fine leg for the top edge sweep. Flintoff, here comes Clarke down the pitch again, plays this on to Cook, and it ricochets away straight to Flintoff at short fine leg, and there's no run there, and the drinks are coming out, so we'll have a little bit of a pause. 402 for 4 then, 25 to North, 47 to Clarke. And England, well, they needed another wicket, didn't they, after having got Ponting just before lunch, which was a wonderful breakthrough, but they've been unable to cash in on that.
Well, they've played almost sensible comfort cricket. They haven't tried any history. There was one lovely shot straight back over his head, Panesar, by Michael Clarke, because he's always had lovely footwork, right from when we first saw him play Test match cricket. He's quick on his feet. And I thought, the last half hour, it'd almost been soporific cricket, but that, from England's point of view, was all they could do at the moment, because, the sting had gone out of the Flintoff-Anderson period, when it was great cricket, and they were getting up the noses of the Australians, got a couple of wickets. And you have to know in most cricket, but particularly Test match cricket, over a longer period of 5 days, when to attack, when to defend. And sometimes some captains don't know how to defend. They think it's bad cricket, it's a wrong thing to do, but you have to know when to make the runs dry up and wait for the moment to attack again. And I thought they were just beginning to do that, but then Panesar got pulled for 4. I didn't mind the 6 because I thought it was just a very good shot, very quick footwork straight back over his head. But they've got to do some thinking, though, is how they're going to snaffle a wicket, because we've got best part of an hour till tea. and they're going to be in front by tea, which I've said all along, and they've still got 6 wickets in hand. So, you know, you can't defend for too long. You've got to pull a rabbit out of the hat somewhere.
In fact, the cricket in the last bit has been not dissimilar to the cricket on the first afternoon when Collingwood and Pietersen were together.
Yeah, comfort cricket.
Yes,
you know,
indeed.
you've got the, shall we say, the more ineffective bowlers on. Not bad bowlers or anything, but for instance, Broad, I think to anybody who's seen him, has bowled beautifully in the West Indies. He rose up and got a notch or two more on his belt. He got wickets. He bowled with more pace and fire and looked as if he was, he'd really come on. But this pitch, for him, it's taken the sting out of him. He's looked, I won't say innocuous, but very ordinary, hadn't he?
Well,
and it happens that.
His control has not been good enough, Geoffrey, has it?
Absolutely. And the pitch, except for an odd ball, it hasn't zipped off, it hasn't gone through, he hasn't bowled the right line of length, and it's sort of, well, he's not been very interesting when he's bowled.
Is it not inexperience? I mean, he's quite young, but in these circumstances, when the pitch is not going to help you, you've got perhaps cut back a notch or two and make absolutely sure you get it continually in the right place.
Dead right. He should have bowled when he saw that, not just today, but yesterday was particularly innocuous, is that when it wasn't moving off the seam, when he wasn't hurrying the batsman, he wasn't looking as if he was going to cause problems, then you have to say, right, I have to settle back and be the third seamer who defends, ties up and ends. I bowl to a slightly defensive field, not totally. You still need a couple of slips and a gully or so, and I block up an end so we can strike from the other end. But he hasn't done anything, has he? He hasn't attacked. He hasn't defended well, and in that way, he's not been a lot of use to the captain.
Well, we've got to change now after the drinks. Jimmy Anderson's coming back at this end, the Cathedral Road end. Let me just go quickly through the bowling figures. Anderson, 20 overs, 3 maidens, 2 for 74. Broad, 23 overs, 3 maidens, none for 96. Swann, 25 overs, 8 maidens, none for 68. A bit disappointing today. Flintoff, 22 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 74. Panesar, 27 overs, 4 maidens, 1 for 78. Funny enough, there's a great similarity about it all, although Broad has probably been the more expensive of any of them. But it was Anderson after lunch, or rather, sorry, with the new ball, who took those 2 wickets. And now, before play starts, can I urge all of you to take a look at bbc.co.uk Ashes Archive, where you can listen to great moments of TMS Ashes commentary, and bbc.co.uk-sport, where you can see a behind the scenes at TMS video. So there you are. What an offer. Make sure you have a look at both of those. Anderson is going to be, we got a rather wide first slip, gully, backward point, short extra cover, deep cover and a mid-off. That's the offside. And here's his first ball. He's in, he bowls, and North comes forward, plays no stroke to a ball that was well wide of the off stump, and through it goes there to Pryor. On the leg side, we've got a fine leg, a mid-wicket and a mid-off. If it was a one-day game, you'd see he's on the edge of the circle. He's about that far back. The weather's still reasonably fine. It's a few minutes ago it was looking just a little bit darker, but the clouds lifted a fraction since then, and mercifully. Anderson in again. He's up to the wicket now. He's there. He bowls, and North just covers up, plays that out on the offside. Collingwood fields at extra cover, and there is no run. Do you think Strauss has been a little bit metronomical in his captaincy? I mean, he doesn't seem really to have tried a great deal. I don't know. When I say not tried a great deal, he hasn't. There's been nothing very innovative out there.
Yeah, he's not an imaginative captain.
He's not, is he?
I mean, captaincy. We'll just let Anderson bowl.
He's coming in now from the Cathedral Road end. In there, bowls to North outside the off stump. He shoulders arms extravagantly, and there's no run.
I know there's 2 different parts to captaincy. One is leadership of the players, the men under you, and so forth. Some people have that. And it is the tactical nous. There's 2 major parts, aren't there? And some things about captaincy, when it's tactical, are fairly straightforward. Who's going to open at which end, the best bowler at the best end with the wind and all that. That's not rocket science. Kids are taught that at school. But I've always felt that the other thing about tactics is a feel for the game. There's nobody can tell you in a book or write it down. You either feel the nuances of the game and react to them, and I don't think he's ever going to do that.
And here's Anderson again. In bowls the left-handed North outside the off stump, and there is no stroke. Through it goes to Pryor. We've now got 2 short extra covers. A slight change in the field. Collingwood the straighter. Bringing the ball back, having a word with Anderson. But another job of a captain is to try and unsettle the batsman's mind, to pose questions, to make him think, well, now, why is this happening? Why is this fielder gone there? And that's what Strauss doesn't seem to be doing, really.
Look, if you haven't got it, I don't think you learn it, Henry.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Anderson is in outside the off stump, and this time North plays forward. It slides off the face of the bat down to the gully, to Pietersen, and there is no run.
I mean, you could think like Mike Brearley. I mean, just did it straightforwardly for him, wasn't it? Comfortable. Michael Vaughan took to it quite easily. Raymond Illingworth was never captain at Yorkshire. It was just an odd game when the captain was injured. We often didn't have a vice-captain. The senior pro took over. I mean, Fred did it when Plosey was off once. We beat the Australians in 68 at Bramall Lane, didn't we?
Indeed. And Anderson again into North. That's on his pads. He plays it away round the corner to Panesar. Deep backward square leg. Monty's throw uncurls itself, finds its way back to Pryor's gloves. The end of the over. 408 is it 8? I can't.
3.
403, thank you.
For
3s
four.
and the 8s for 4, indeed. And 26 there to North and 47 to Clarke.
I mean, and Raymond, except for an odd match at Yorkshire, just went to Leicestershire and just took up captaincy as if he'd been born to it.
Having
straightforward.
played with him in Yorkshire, did you sense that this would happen?
Oh, yes. Because in the dressing room, well, no, Vic Wilson was captain when I first had my first game or two at Yorkshire, and then Brian Close took over, who was very good. If Closey spoke to anybody, well, he spoke to the whole team. You were even encouraged as a youngster to speak up. We were never discouraged at Yorkshire. But once the captain made a decision, that was it. But he always took a lot of notice of Raymond. Raymond had a mind for it and tactics and that, and he was always thinking of winning. Always thinking of winning. Losing, well, that happened. That's part of life, but you couldn't win a championship unless you won a lot of matches.
Well, Swann's come on now at the River Taff end. He's going to bowl to the left-handed North. And the pin of the pad is a big appeal. But I don't think Mr. Trotte will be... You've got to be more obviously out than that, I think. He was coming forward. It may have been going leg side just a bit. I remember watching you play your first game for Yorkshire at Northampton.
Oh, my first championship game.
Indeed.
You didn't have to watch it long, Henry.
I think didn't Closey make 160 in that match? And here comes Swann again. This time it's cut away beautifully behind square for 4. Flintoff in that rather funny run of his goes after it. He won't get there. It's a good shot that by North. He goes along now to 30, and the total goes to 407 for 4.
You're dead right, Henry. He played a fine knock. But the one thing I remember more than anything, Fred made his first 100. And I think he batted about number 9. And I'm a kid starting my career, and I'm thinking, crikey, if they bat like this at number 9, what chance have I got? He batted fantastically well.
Swann round the wicket in, bowls again to North, and North just covers up, plays from the crease, dropping the ball down in front of him, and Cook goes across from forward short leg. I always remember watching it at a fine leg or third man, and where you were fielding for some of the time. I remember it so well. In 1963?
62.
62 was it? First year.
I was 21.
And here is Swann in bowls, and North is forward, just running that slowly back on the onside, and Swann goes across and picks up. Well, a lot of water's gone under the bridge, hasn't it, since then? Yeah. Do you like to have it all again?
Yes,
it'd be fun.
Every bit. And I'd die tomorrow. Love every minute.
Here is Swann. Forward there comes North, just playing it out to Strauss in the covers, and there is no run.
The sad thing is that your career comes and goes. It should come and stay all the time.
Well, we now have to live in front of old age, don't we?
Yes.
That's the terrifying thing. Here's Swann, he bowls, and North tickles that round the corner, and it's going to be just the single as that goes out to big fine leg. Flintoff in there, throws back. Just the single, 408 for 4, 31 now to North, and 47 at the other end to Clarke.
Well,
is there any particular moment in your career looking back that you would have liked to have had again? I know you generally, it would have been fun to have gone through the whole thing again, but is there any particular moment when you felt you got something wrong and you'd like to have done it again?
Oh, a number of things wrong. I mean, all the times I got out for 90, not too many, but I prefer them not to be 90. Nobody remembers the 90s, even I don't want to remember them, Henry, but they happened. The 100s were more important. Yeah, things like that. I mean, the days I got naught, I wish I'd have known beforehand. I wouldn't have got out of bed. I'd have stayed there.
And of course, however good you were, there's always the chance as people go in first, isn't it, that you're going to be cleaned up by a really good one.
Oh, yeah.
In the first over or whatever.
Yeah.
Anderson again, bowling to the left-handed North. There's 2 short extra covers in position. Anderson is in, he bowls North, shoulders arm to a ball well outside the off stump, and through it goes to Pryor. Pryor's done well. He's not had an awkward time against the spinners. They haven't found that much turn for him. The only thing that I find slightly strange about Pryor, it was always irritating, the word, every time he takes the ball standing close to wicket, he takes the bails off, doesn't he?
Well, careful, Henry. There's 4.5 matches ago yet. Don't put the mockers on him. He's done good so far.
He has, hasn't he? This is quite right. And Anderson is in, bowls outside the off stump, and North goes back on his toes, tries to force through the covers, only gets the ball as far as Collingwood at short extra cover, the straighter of the 2 short extra covers. A seagull flies over the box, has a look at Geoffrey and me, and obviously doesn't much care for what he sees. He goes whizzing over our heads.
I want Pryor to have a good series, because
yes.
I think, it's so important that he doesn't drop somebody that makes 100. If he has a good series, England have a good chance, because I think if his confidence is up, he's a very good batsman. He'll get runs at 6, good runs.
And Anderson in, bowls outside the off stump, and there is no stroke there. And it's 408 for 4. Going back for a moment to Foster then. He's retired a long time ago. There's something rather similar about Foster and Anderson, actually, when you think about it. He was a good bowler, wasn't he? Essex. He played a lot of test matches too.
Yeah, the thing is you need quality fast bowlers. You got really quality fast bowlers, you have the ace. You can talk about any other type of bowler you want.
Anderson in bowls, and that's played down off the front foot to Pietersen there in the gully, and there is no run.
And I think it was more important before the late 70s when people started wearing helmets, when you just had a cap on and not so much arm padding or chest pads. Then you really knew that if you didn't get it right against the fast bowlers, it was the fear of getting hurt, put in hospital. That concentrated a lot of batsmen's minds.
Well, of course, and the fact of helmets has meant that people play short pitch bowling rather worse.
Better.
Yes, indeed.
Well, they play worse, but they don't get out so easy.
And this gun comes outside the off stump from Anderson. No stroke again from North, and Pryor goes swooping across in front of first slip and takes.
You find tail enders are pulling and hooking and getting hit, and they still carry on because they've got all the padding, haven't they, on the head and the chest. But going on until helmets really came in. I mean, people like Fred would say, listen, mate, if you hang around long, you'll get one up the ear hole. So they played a few shots and disappeared, didn't they? Before Fred was going to knock the teeth out. And same with Statham and people. They didn't hang around too long. Tyson, I mean, can you imagine him bowling at tail enders? Even Fred said he was the fastest bowler he'd ever seen.
And Anderson running in now. He's there. He bowls to North outside the off stump. North plays no stroke, and through it goes to Pryor. And the score at the end of that over, 408 for 4. It's 31 to North and 47 to Clarke. Of course, the danger too in those days was the top edge into your face, wasn't it? And of course, the helmet has got rid of that, and so batsmen can attempt.
Even tail enders, they all have a dart, don't they?
They do.
You see people like Steve Harmison, who's a decent lower end, but he would have had to duck before because he'd be frightened of getting his teeth knocked out or something, or put in hospital. Now they hang around longer.
Well,
get a
indeed.
few runs,
Yes,
but,
indeed.
I liked it when they disappeared, so I could bat.
Well, and of course there was an element of excitement when you saw Fred in Australia in 62-3 and he came in at the end and really hit Richie and those, you know. It was terrific stuff.
They always felt they had to. If they got an opportunity against spinners or anything, they'd hit them because they knew the quicks would be along shortly. They didn't want to be there.
Well, that's right. It's going to be Swann, who's going to continue from the taff end. He's going to bowl to Clarke, who's been a bit out of it lately. Hasn't had much of the strike. Swann comes in, bowls, and Clarke makes a bit of room to one that really almost creeps along the ground, and he tries to cut it, and all he can do is stub it into the ground. It trickles out to Bopara, and
It'd be better caressing it rather than trying to smack it.
Yeah, indeed. Just steer it behind square, yes. Swann again in, and this time he's down the pitch, Clarke, driving nicely, but well fielded by Monty. And Monty's fielding has been very good. He's been good in this game. Really has put everything into it. He looks a cheerful, chirpy cricketer. And Swann it is, once more, up to the wicket, bowls to Clarke, and it's a quicker one. And Clarke comes forward and then skips back into his crease, and Cook from forward short leg goes across to sit him off and fields. And the crowd watch intently. They know it's crucial action. Australia have got their noses fairly substantially in front at the moment. And Swann bowls, and this time Clarke just kicks it away. There's no run because he didn't play a stroke, and it was a stifled appeal. And he kicked it away from about the line, I suppose, leg stump, or just outside leg stump. And I don't think anyone would have expected a positive reaction from Billy Dottrove, who was one of the great not-outers. Anyhow, it was only very much a stifled appeal. And here comes Swann again, and this time Clarke's down the wicket, driving 4 runs. That was beautiful. Using his feet in typically Australian fashion, got to the pitch, and that's his 50. There was no real great backlift there, a lot of power from his forearms. He placed it beautifully to the right of Monty there at mid-off, and it was a lovely stroke. And anyone watching that's the way to do it. 412 for 4, 51 now to Clarke. It was a lovely shot, wasn't it?
Well, he came down the pitch each time, didn't he?
Yes.
Using his feet. It was a real contest between the bowler and him.
Swann in again, bowls. He comes down the pitch again and drives for 4 more. Well, that's absolutely history repeating itself. A really lovely stroke. And what a joy to see it. Batsmen using their feet to spin and scoring runs like that. 2 wonderful strokes. 416 now for 4. 55 to Clarke, 31 to North. And after another or more thoughts from Geoffrey Boycott, it will be Chris Martin-Jenkins.
Well, that's 6 balls in the over. He came down there, drove the one on the floor through extra cover between mid-off and cover, straightish cover. And then he went down again to the ball after, which was just a fraction wider, and so he just went through with the shot and lofted it over the top and in between them. And he's such a good player against spin. If he doesn't get to the pitch, he's sort of almost threatening the bowler, not with belligerence that he's going to hit him with power. He's threatening that he's going to try and score with his footwork. He's coming down. If he doesn't quite get there, he blocks it and he waits for the next one.
Great footwork. In comes Anderson, bowls to North, who plays very straight. That's his great virtue, and drives it to mid-off. Good stop there. Cuts the ball off. Flintoff had to make some haste to his left to do so, and it was firmly enough hit, although Flintoff's a reasonable way back for them not to risk a run. 416 for 4, therefore the score remains. And England once again are striving very earnestly for a wicket. They've got an offside trap for North. Anderson bows to him outside his off stump, and he leaves it alone. He's just got 2 men on the leg side, a long leg, Panesar, who has his pigtail, if that's the correct expression, going down the back of his neck underneath his white sun hat, and a mid-on Stuart Broad, who's not a very happy bunny by the look of him. In goes Anderson and bowls outside the off stump. North leaves it alone.
Yes, I would think that so far it's been slightly chastening for him, because he's done very well in West Indies, and again in West Indies earlier this summer, It was not just the fact that he got a few wickets, that his bowling looked better, he looked up for it, he looked a little quicker, and you thought, wow, if Flintoff's not fit, this lad has come forward, he's taken a leap forward. But then this match, on a slow pitch, it's just drawn his teeth, hasn't it?
It has. Anderson bowls outside the off stump, and North is not going to be tempted into something injudicious. He remains 31 not out as he leaves it for Pryor. Broad's bowled 23 overs, 3 maidens taken, none for 96. Anderson is in his 23rd over, 2 for 75 at the moment. Swann 27 overs, 8 maidens, none for 81. Another slightly changing bowler today, over the last 2 days. Flintoff 1 for 74 off 22. Panesar 1 for 78 off 27. Here is Anderson again with a streak of red down his right flank. Bowls very wide of the off stump, and North is no mug. He's not going to just commit suicide and launch something in the air to one of these offside fielders. So it's a bit of stalemate at the moment.
It's a big confidence boost by the Australian selectors not to bring a reserve batsman. They've virtually got to play him.
Yeah.
He's only in his 3rd test match, his first Ashes, but his 3rd test match. And there's no reserve except the all-rounder who's always injured.
Watson, poor chap.
I mean, he's always injured him.
Good player when he does play. In comes Anderson, and that's driven into the offside, only as far as cover. Bopara feels, and there's no run.
As Brian Clough used to say, you're no good to me, lad, if you're unfit. If you can't get on the park, what you say?
Well, it didn't take great wisdom to say that, really, did it?
No, but he said the best thing to Eddie Graham at Leeds United. He said, young man, you're very talented. If you'd have been a racehorse, we'd have shot you long ago. Because he's always injured.
Yep. And he looks a fine physical specimen, Watson. I don't know why he does keep breaking down. But some people
are like that. Look at Chris Hole. If you could get him on the park, what a fine bowler.
Yes. Here comes Swann, the bowls from the river end, and lovely move into the feet again by Clarke, gets him a single. A slightly risky one just for a second, because Bopara was closing on the ball from extra cover, and Clarke had just carried on running from playing the shot at least a yard out of his crease. But he really is an old-fashioned Australian player, Michael Clarke, the way he moves his feet to the spinners. 417 for 4. He's now 56 not out, and it's North facing Swann from round the wicket, and he mows him towards the mid-wicket boundary for 4. Pretty bucolic, but highly effective.
It's the shot, though, for me. That tells you a lot of the confidence in the man now growing. He's gone to 35. Here he is, I said, playing his 3rd test match, and he's played nicely and worked for it, and now he's suddenly decided this one's got to go. I fancy him, he's sort of saying. Boom, 4.
Yeah, well, first impressions are very important, and Swann needs to get back on top. He bowls nice looping delivery this time, and that's good bowling, because he might have been tempted to have a repeat shot and got a top edge there, but he didn't. He's played that shot twice successfully, and once rather less so to mid-on. Swann comes in and bowls to him, and he lets it go by outside the off stump, reading it correctly as the off break rather than the arm ball. Swann still has a slip, a forward short leg, and a short cover. Backward point, mid-off, deep cover. He bowls to North, who again leaves it outside the off stump. Pryor takes it smartly. No run. Cloudy afternoon, and they're just getting a bit thicker, these clouds.
Well, they're just killing England with simplistic cricket, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's all they're doing.
Good, safe test batting. In comes appeal for Abu Dhabi, optimistic one, I think.
Not with him.
Billy Doctorow, the umpire, shook his head immediately there. From round the wicket. Well, it was worth a shout. It pitched on, did it, Jeff?
More or less. It was worth a shout, but you just know Billy's not going to give anybody out, is he?
He's not a front foot giver, certainly.
Not even sure he's a back foot giver after what I saw earlier on.
I'd be interested to know what Hawkeye said there. It might just have gone on and hit the off stump.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't expect them all to be out like that,
No.
so I agree. But he just
quite
is
a
a
lot.
not-outer, which is not good for cricket. It's worse than somebody giving everybody out, even when they're missing and they're not out. But not-outers, the game is a stalemate, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
It's a safe way of saying, I won't upset any batsman by giving out. But what about the poor old bowler?
quite.
He has a career to earn, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple in this game already.
One to Pietersen was LB Plum, wasn't it?
Exactly.
And the one to Katich
Yes,
was knocking
yeah.
middle out, both of them. They couldn't have missed anything else.
No, that's a pity.
Yeah, you want a fair deal for the bowlers as well as the batsmen.
You say that now. You never said it in the old days.
Well, I did, because what really infuriated me only was the ones which I knew were missing leg stump were like 3 inches and they give you out. That really made you angry. The marginal ones, you were very disappointed.
Yeah. Anderson comes in, bowls a ball that Clarke leaves. A fine judgment, because it was just coming in towards the off stump. But it probably would have gone over it, actually. It bounced a bit, that one.
I mean, we never had television for county matches or anything, and I would often come in and say from LBW, say, was that out? Surely that was missing. The lads would say, like Phil Carrick and every best, I'm not sure about that fire here. It's fairly straight. He didn't get forward or something. So it would make me think that maybe I hadn't got it right.
Anderson again, bowls just outside the off stump. Sorry to cut across you, and it's cut hard into the covers. And a slight misfield by Swann makes it doubly certain that they're going to get the single they were going for. 422 for 4. Billy Cooper. Just Billy Cooper, isn't it? The trumpeter has started on Bread of Heaven, and he was getting some real Welsh singing going behind him. Hawkeye to that LBW said, hitting the leg stump. So North is 35, Clarke 57. And Anderson tries again. He bowls to the left-handed Marcus North, who this time leaves it alone outside the off-stump. Anderson getting just a little bit of movement. Reverse swing he's trying now. Don't know why he was off the field, do you? Apparently, officially, nothing wrong with him.
Wanted a rest, couldn't get a wicket.
Perhaps he had a bit of money on a horse at Newmarket, that Australian horse that Jim Maxwell's interested in.
Oh, these Australians, they all bet.
Scenic Blast and Takeover Target too.
Takeover Target, and what's the other one? Scenic Blast. They both ran at Ascot.
Race is on now.
Race is on now. In comes Anderson, bowls, and North stands up straight, uses his height and plays very securely. No way that ball could...
The race is on here, and the Australian nag is winning by 2 lengths.
I think it's going to be null and void myself.
Well, it might be if the rain comes tomorrow, but I don't know. They've had collapses before, England, you know. No, you couldn't get a flatter pitch than that in Adelaide.
Well, true.
When they cocked up. And what about Jamaica, just recently? They didn't bat too well in the 3rd innings there, did they?
They did not. In comes Anderson, bowls on the leg stump, flicked away by North towards the fine leg boundary. Good stroke, it's going to go all the way for 4. Despite a noble effort by Panesar, diving along the length of the sponsored rope, the boundary rope, which always has the Empire, when these test matches are on, logo over the top of it. One more thing to catch the camera's eye. 426 for 4. And North collects another boundary towards his first 50 against England. He's 39 not out. Only 2 men on the leg side. Anderson must keep it around middle and off. He does on that occasion, and North has to get high onto his toes there to keep on top of the bounce. Steers it away to cover. Jim Maxwell still following the race. I don't think you haven't invested, have you, or am I not allowed to reveal that? He's just interested. Anything Australian he'll back. 426 for 4, Clarke 57, North 39, so they are now only 9 runs behind Australia. And you must take your hat off to the resolution and thoughtfulness, I think, of the way they've gone about getting close to shutting England out of this game. Jeffrey's obviously given up on them. I don't know if Vic has.
Given up on England?
Yeah.
England will not win this game. I tell you that. No,
Mark my words.
Marking my words. Collingwood's going to have a go. Perhaps a bit late in proceedings.
Yep.
Since lunch, my impression is that England have been very tepid, resigned, haven't they?
It's been very disappointing, really, because they had a good morning.
Well, they did. With they're getting those 2 wickets with the new ball. There was just a little chink of light. 331 for 4. Still a deficit over 100, but it's been all rather easy for North and Clarke, it seems to me. I was puzzled straight after lunch that they opened with their least effective seamer, Stuart Broad, rather than Flintoff or Anderson. They say nothing's wrong with Anderson, although he wasn't on the field throughout all of the afternoon session. And it's just, I mean, they played very well, the two Aussies, no question about that, but you don't feel they've been challenged a great deal. So perhaps Collingwood's going to be the man. Perhaps a lack of pace is the crux.
Yeah, well, let's see if Collingwood can take a little 6-4 here in 2 overs. That'll set that cat amongst the pigeons. He's coming in from the River Taff end and bowls to Clarke, who looked suspicious as though that was going to go right under his bat, and watched it right onto the bat off the back foot. But a good start from Collingwood, right on target, about middle and off. He's bowling his medium pace with 2 short mid-wickets. Shilpa's just bought a Welsh triple chocolate ice cream, which looks very tempting. In comes Collingwood, and he's pushed to mid-on. There's no run, which reminds me to thank 1 or 2 very kind donors. Before the match even started, we were presented with a superb chocolate cake from the buggy driver and the corporate hostess, Guy and Sarah. Thank you very much. It's very good. And we've had little bits of shortbread and that sort of thing. In comes Collingwood from the Taff end, and that's touched out into the offside by Clarke for a single to reduce the deficit to 8 and to take Australia to 427 for 4. Clarke himself has made 58. And then Catherine Close. Growing up, I used to find it slightly bemusing that people would send in cakes to a radio show, but then I began to appreciate why they did it.
I'm still trying to work it out myself, Catherine.
So as a welcome to Wales, here is a chocolate Guinness cake. I thought that was Irish. Anyway, thank you very much. You're all very kind, and it's much appreciated. And we'll find a good home for anything we can't guzzle in the next few days. You might need some sustenance through the rain tomorrow afternoon, Victor.
I might.
Is the ice cream good?
It is good. Now, this will be the ultimate test of trust between commentator and summariser. If we can finish these 2 cartons on air without any ridiculous questions at the wrong time.
I mean, it's a disadvantage because I haven't got a spoon. In comes Collingwood and bowls outside the off stump. Oh, there's one inside the handle. Taken by Pryor, keeping up to the stumps, as I'm sure he should be. He really has kept well, Pryor. I saw him in a 4-day championship match not long ago, and I thought he kept well in that, so I think genuinely he's improved. Bruce French has been counselling him, former Notts and England keeper. In comes Collingwood and bowls, and that's pushed into the offside. And that crackle of paper you hear is a letter from David Albury QC to the members of the Test Match special team. We welcome you all to Cardiff for the first Ashes Test and hope that you enjoy the whole event as much as we undoubtedly shall. Please accept this Bara Brith and Welsh cakes as a taste of Wales. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Thank you very much. In comes Collingwood and bowls, and a little late dab by, it's a nice shot by North. It'll get him 2 runs as Broad rather labours after it, just gets there in time to dissuade Clarke from dancing back for the 3rd run. But that was the stroke of a really, really comfortable pitch to bat on. It just came through at an even height very slowly, and he was able to just steer it past slip for 2 runs. And I'm sorry to have to report grave news for all Australians. Not only are they struggling at Worcester, I don't know what the latest score is there, your ladies, but your horses are doing no better. You'll have to make do with the fact that you're about to overtake England in the Test match, 4:29 for 4. But in the Dali July Cup at Newmarket, Scenic Blast, the 11-8 favourite, blew up in the straight. Up the straight, there's an Aussie expression which I haven't heard before. Didn't win. Fleeting Spirit won at 12-1. Main Aim was second at 14-1. And JJ the jet plane was third at 13-2. No relation of JJ War, I think, one of the most witty after-dinner speakers I've ever heard, apart from bowling fast for England with limited success in his only tour of Australia. 4:29 for 4.
You can have a little thing. I'll just tell him that Flintoff is back. And England desperately...
That's just what we need now. Bit of
ice cream?
Fire and brimstone.
Oh, all right. Well, Flintoff, yes, he's coming back. He's not got a very attacking field, but he has got a forward short leg and a wide slip in a gully. And England desperate need for some sort of inspiration. The Aussies are doing well at Worcester as well.
Listen to the crowd. Flintoff's on. He comes in over the wicket and bowls short and is punched away. A fine little cuffed pull shot by Clarke, who's not in any way discomforted by that first ball from Flintoff, and has a friendly little word with him as they pass each other. It's lovely to see genuinely friendly talk between opponents. And that's as it should be. It's not as if they aren't both trying 100%, but there's no need to be nasty about it. 4:30 for 4. Clarke 59. Flintoff from the Cathedral Road end starts off on his run, and then Strauss is still making a field change. He's bringing in a second gully for North. He's bowling round the wicket to the left-hander, and he'll try to get a bit of bounce and away movement and perhaps get one of those two gullies to leap in the air and take a brilliant catch. In he comes and bowls on a length. A good stroke though by North off his legs to a ball probably on middle stump to Bopara at mid-wicket for a single. North has played well.
Yeah. It's gone belly up at Worcester. 28 for 5, the way Australian women were.
But it's raining.
No, 163 for 5.
Oh no.
Oh
well
yes.
done, Australia.
Oh no.
Well, that's in the only Ashes in inverted commas test. I think it's a bit of a shame myself they didn't call it something else, but we know why. In comes Flintoff and bowls ball that just drifts in, I think, a little to Clarke, who plays it beautifully through mid-on. It's coming up here for 3, I would think, as Anderson flops on the ball, flicks it back, a bit like old friend Brace and
Cliff Morgan.
Well, his Oxford partner was MJK Smith. Now, who was his fly half? Probably was Cliff Morgan or his successor. Yeah,
we'll stick with Cliff Morgan until anyone's got a better idea.
I don't know if Cliff might be listening. If he is, warmest greetings to him. Hasn't been very well for a long time, I know. 4:34 for 4. Malcolm.
100 partnership, Chris, for the 5th wicket. 118 minutes, 100 balls. A correction.
In comes Flintoff and bowls outside the off stump. That one cut away. That would have been a fine ball if he'd played at it, but very inconveniently North left it alone.
116 minutes, 183 balls, 1 6 and 13 fours.
Thank you. So it's not been rapid rate of progress, but it's been another very important stand for Australia, who, in case you haven't heard, if perhaps just recently switched on this morning, lost the wickets. Katich, LBW Anderson for 122. Here's Flintoff surging in, tall, fair hair, bowls on the off stump and is nudged into the offside confidently by North, coming well forward and playing it short of Anderson at mid-off. Another run, 4-3-5 for 4-3-4. Sorry.
No, it's pretty much one.
For 4, so one more run and they'll be level. Hussey was caught by Pryor off Anderson for 3, those wickets falling to Anderson with the new ball. And then Ponting, after his monumental 150, bowled by Panesar off an inside edge, trying to cut for 150.
Yeah.
Flintoff over the wicket to Clarke, who pulls confidently through mid-wicket, and Australia are ahead.
It's a good shot. That right out the meet, they're way ahead at the moment.
4.39 for 4, not literally so, but I know what you mean. Clarke is up to 66, which seems a good moment to usher in Jim Maxwell to join Vic with his ice cream halfway eaten. You're ahead. Well, I'm going to overtake you.
Well, it's hard to look at it like this, but I look at my ice cream cup and I say it's half full rather than half empty. But it's a struggle. England look as if their cup is half empty out there at the moment. They're looking... they're still trying, they're still striving, but they can't see a wicket coming from anywhere. They've just brought back Flintoff, the sort of talismanic figure, and he's actually been swept away in that over. Runs coming very freely, some very good pull shots there from Michael Clarke. Marcus North is looking settled.
Yes, they're playing it really well. Collingwood bowls a ball that's nibbled off by North. It was short, it was slow, and all he did was run it down to a wide first slip with Pryor standing up over the stumps. That patriotic singing seems just a little lame at the moment. I think they need to go and refresh themselves at the bar for a big burst after tea in the hope that England's bowlers can find something more explosive in their hand than this ball. Collingwood tosses up and he edges the ball down past Pryor, or was it straight through Pryor? It's gone down to the boundary between the keeper's gloves and slip for byes. Yes, no, Nick. Just Pryor standing up, couldn't take it. Was that the first byes? Yeah. First byes against Pryor.
Actually quite a good ball.
Did it hit something on the pitch? What happened?
Well, it hit the pitch, it gripped and went like it was an off-cutter.
Yeah.
He bowls a lot of off-cutters rather than seamers now, and Collingwood on this sort of surface, and that actually did everything right, apart from take the edge and go into first slip's hands.
4 for 4, 4-3. Collingwood around the wicket, bowls to North. Beaten again. That's going to be 4 more byes. That pitched in the rough, and Pryor couldn't take it. 2 lots of 4 byes, and Collingwood's... he's saying that to Pryor will either get back or get a bit more protection.
Well, for the last 2 balls, and these 2 balls only, for Collingwood is bowling like Don Shepherd.
Don Shepherd.
Who
I remember him.
Well, of course, everyone remembers him.
I actually remember batting against him at Swansea.
You did?
Yeah, well, that's another story for another day.
Okay, but he's,
Yeah.
He is the man who every Welshman shakes his head and cannot believe that he never played Test matches for England.
Yes.
But he bowled very fast, as all the locals here will know, very fast off breaks, often with the wicketkeeper standing back. But at this sort of pace, and Collingwood has just delivered 2 perfect fast off breaks, which have eluded outside edge and Pryor.
Collingwood again. Where's this one going? Off the bat. Chopped away on the offside. It was a little bit fuller in length, and he sent it away for Strauss to stop. But now he's getting a helmet, Pryor. Well, I don't think even a helmet's going to help him stop those if they pitch in the rough and turn it at some Derek Underwood type pace or Don Shepherd pace. Might need the slip to move a little finer so his right hand could cut a few off. A very awkward delivery, standing up over the stumps to take, and he didn't. So now Pryor's got a helmet on. 4 for 447, a lead of 12 to Australia. Collingwood is around the wicket. He bowls to North. North leaves the ball alone. It holds its own. Didn't hit any of that roughage. So does England attack, the spin attack, been up to par, or is it just the quality of the batting and the lack of excitement in the pitch that's made them struggle for more effectiveness?
I don't think it's been up to par. Swann in particular will be disappointed. He's bowled far more loose deliveries than we've come accustomed. I think that's partly out of frustration. So much talk about this pitch turning, and it has turned a bit, but he's got nothing to show for it.
2 short covers in place as Collingwood tries again at North, and North goes back and cuts him for 4 between slip and backward point. Just a little bit of width, and North enjoyed that. This has been a very good innings from Marcus North. His shot selection's been excellent, and he's 47, Clarke 66. And the scores moved to 451, which means they've put on 120.
And it's been easy for them, hasn't it? North, had a few uncomfortable minutes when he started, coming in just before lunch. He looked edgy, but you would do it the first test of an Ashes series, and the first Ashes series he's ever played in. But he's looked increasingly relaxed. He knows where the field is. Didn't mind. He's beaten twice, actually, by Collingwood in that over. Good balls, though, to beat Pryor as well. And then I think Collingwood, instead of bowling his off-cutter, tried a little seamer. A bit of extra pace. Knew there was no one fine on the offside. He just late cut him down to the boundary. Mini crisis over. Flintoff, well, he's spread the field now, having had some treatment from Clarke in the previous over. Here he comes.
With a wide slip, he bowls a ball that's defended by Clarke, getting well across and behind the ball and sending it down the pitch. He's got two men back, had long leg and deep square, mid-wicket, mid-on, mid-off, cover, a point, a gully and a slip. So there's some high cheerless cloud around us at the moment. It doesn't look like raining, but it might later on. Flintoff runs in. He bowls to Clarke. Clarke defends again, just jumping across these stumps and sending the ball straight back down the pitch. So Michael Clarke, who's been a little here and there with his batting in test match cricket in recent times against South Africa. He often lost his wicket to a loose shot, or that famous exchange heard on the effects mic when he was batting against Paul Harris. They have summed up some of it as well. Flintoff bowls, forward goes Clarke, drives it on the bounce towards cover, but not through.
You're going to have to enlighten us.
Well, they were playing in Durban, and it was just after Hughes had got that memorable 100 in his second test match. He smashed Harris for a couple of sixes and a four to get there. He didn't waste any time going from 90 to 100. It took him about two hits. And thereafter, wickets fell and Clarke came out to bat. He's watching Flintoff run in towards him now, and he drives him straight down the ground, and there's a good save by Anderson down there at mid-on, which prevents more than a single. The ball just missed the stumps on the onside of straight. Clarke 67. And it had become clear in their little battles in Australia that Clarke really wasn't getting the better of the argument against Harris, and he took him on a few times injudiciously with a man back and hold out. Anyway, he's facing him and he knocks the ball away for a single. One of those singles that's marginal. Here we go, around the wicket with Flintoff. He bowls a good tight ball at North, and he gets a run because there's no pace on his push to the onside. So he's taking this somewhat hazardous single, got down the other end, and you could hear on the effects mic this quick exchange. Harris says to him, "Don't you like facing me?" And Clarke says, "No." Whereupon promptly he gets down the other end of the next over and he gets rissoled.
Right.
Just played the wrong line, bang, out. So he had his number a few times over there, Paul Harris. It was quite amusing. So he's looked the part today as Flintoff comes in and bowls and is pushed back up the offside. Flintoff has a fling at the stumps and misses as Clarke charges back to make sure of his ground. So 4 for 453, Clarke 67 and North on 48. And Ricky Ponting, talking before the game, he said it was one of the things he emphasised to his players, particularly on the slow pitches in England. Give yourself a chance to get in against the slow balling before you start looking for your shots. And we saw that with Clarke today. It was a long while before he went the aerial route, and when he did, he picked the right ball and hit Panesar for 6.
He's played well. Take us on another geography lesson around your blessed country.
What have we got here?
Well, we're in the Pilbara region, WA.
Oh, yeah, up in the mining country.
Well,
right up there, yes, an iron ore mine site in the Pilbara region. Right.
That's where John's up there with a dump truck.
A dump truck on night shift at Cape Preston. Righto. Well, nice of you to send us a note. I hope you're enjoying it. Watch out where you dump your load, as it were. Here comes North. He knocks the ball around the corner, and he picks up a single. Forfeit 454.
We're keeping Scott awake too, which in the middle of Port Botany.
Yeah, well, that's a bit closer to civilization, as it were.
Which is just as well because he's driving a crane.
Yeah, that's Captain Cook country, Botany Bay. The port's right alongside. As you go into the airport there at Kingsford Smith, you see all those containers in there. Here's Collingwood. Hits the pad. An appeal for LBW. Shaved the pad, went to Pryor, and his lungs were expanded more than Catherine Jenkins there at getting the appeal up. Gee, he was having a crack. And his arms were out like the opera singer. But Billy Doctrove not interested. It flicked the pad, and it was missing the off stump by about 5-6 inches.
1 or 2 inches. He didn't play a shot. That got Collingwood excited. But Billy Doctrove unmoved. Collingwood bowls again, and it's driven not quite so controlled as Clarke would have liked. He dragged that with a bit of bottom hand, and maybe the ball just didn't come off the pitch as he would have liked. But it didn't look like his most stylish stroke.
Well, it's time for Collingwood to say, don't you like facing my bowling then?
Nip one past him. The off cutter hit that off stump. He comes up and he bowls to Clarke. Clarke goes forward, pushes down the line, just getting that leg in the right spot and through towards mid-on with some elegance. He's 67. North's 49. North, of course, made 100 on debut in that extraordinary performance by Australia in Johannesburg when they made 466 on a pitch that just didn't look like anyone could get more than 200. Here comes Collingwood to bowl outside the line of the off stump. Well, snappily taken by Pryor as he hovers the ball near the bails, but he doesn't remove them. And listening to the cricket while snuggled up under the blankets, Helen in Perth, Western Australia.
Blankets in Perth? Well, I never went there in the winter, I suppose. Didn't need them in the summer.
It's pretty cool, I think, in winter. Get some breezes there. As Collingwood pitches up at Clarke, and he pats it away down the onside. Yes, it's about 10:35 at night in Perth, just past 12 in eastern states of Australia, Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne. And here it's getting close to tea on the third day, and Australia have a lead of 19 for 454.
And actually Collingwood is doing quite a good job here and looking as dangerous as anyone, bowling these fast off-cutters. There was another Welshman who changed, more recent than Don Shepherd, not quite just a distinguished bowler, but chap was Stephen Barwick, who bowled away swingers for years at Sapphire Gardens, then worked out if he bowled off-cutters, he'd be more effective.
Flintoff bowls just outside that off stump from around the wicket, and North leaves it. So how did he fare?
Well, he was a sort of run-of-the-mill away swinger, honest away swinger. We're talking 80s and 90s. Stephen Barwick bowled away swing. Then suddenly, partly I think because he played here on this surface, he switched modes. Still bowled quickly and bowled quite fast off-cutters. And I think he had as much success doing that, especially at Sapphire Gardens, as he did when he was trying to bowl away swing.
Flintoff runs in and bowls just outside the off stump. Again, North showing a great discipline there and not playing at anything that's just outside the line. Well,
and that's what Collingwood's doing.
Yes.
He's a little seamer who's actually down here having as much, or having more effect, perhaps bowling those off cutters, than he would if he was trying to bowl his little away swingers.
Was someone like Shackleton have done that on this pitch? A bit different.
Well, a bit young to answer that question.
Derek Shackleton?
Well, of course I can remember him.
He's went off, he bowls, and it's tucked around the corner down to fine leg. Maybe I should be saying Tom Cartwright.
Well,
and there's a run that gives North his 50. Another half century in Test cricket. He's that third Test match and his first score of 50 in an Ashes Test. And it's been a very well-judged innings.
It has. Very unfussy, very calm once he got in.
It was one of the question marks coming up into the series. Malcolm? Marcus North, is he okay? Malcolm, go on.
133 minutes, 107 balls in his third test. It's first against England.
Thank you. Malcolm Ashton with all those details as Flintoff charges in and Clarke defends away on the offside. Now, Tom Cartwright?
Well, I'm not, the likes of Barwick, Shepherd, if you like, actually really almost brought off breaks.
Yeah.
Tom Cartwright was the most magnificent seam bowler. He probably could cut it a little bit, but his great asset was he could hit the seam time and time again. He would dig it on a pitch like this. He would dig his own hole on a length because he would land the ball, on a saucer.
Flintoff comes in and bowls, and it's pushed away on the offside because he would have played a lot of his earlier cricket on uncovered pitches too.
Yeah, but he was formidable on the English pitches that they needn't be uncovered. He was a superb bowling machine, and Shackleton the same, I suppose. Although I once played in a game at school where Derek Shackleton was umpiring, and he appealed before anyone else when I was batting,
and you were given out. Here comes Flintoff, chopped away. The hind point for 4. No, he's got a bit of a hand on that. Bopara, as he dived to his left, he took some of the heat off it, and it's going to be retrieved away towards the boundary. Swann chasing back, and they ended up with 3 runs. And that's tea. Umpire Alim Dale ceremoniously removes the bails, and they move away to the rooms at 4 for 458. Clarke 70, North 50, and it's been a very strong performance by these two, coming out after lunch when the score was 4 for 348. Exactly 110 runs have come in a partnership that is now worth 127. There were a few wickets before lunch, 3 of them, with Katich legged the 4 to the Anderson swinging delivery for 122. Hussey caught by Pryor from Anderson for 3, and Ponting chopped into his stumps off Panesar for 150. And at tea they go in at 4 for 458, and I'll just have a look down these bowling figures, which tell us Anderson's bowled 24 overs, 5 maidens, 2 for 80. Broad 23 overs, 3 maidens, none for 96. Swann 28 overs, 8 maidens, none for 86. Flintoff 25 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 90. Panesar 27 overs, 4 maidens, 1 for 78. And Collingwood 3 overs for 8 runs, but there are also 8 byes there in 1 over when the ball pitched in the rough and Pryor couldn't take it. So that's the situation, Victor. Where's the game going?
Well, it's going Australia's way. I think that was the most one-sided session of the match so far, in fact. I know that there were long periods yesterday where Ponting and Katich looked impregnable and they played very well, but you felt even during those sessions that the England bowlers were more or less up for it and they were competing. But I got the impression in that session there, where England started with a bit of optimism, North was on naught, Clarke had not really established himself at the crease, that far too quickly there was an air of sort of resignation, devoid of ideas, devoid of inspiration. It is a sapping sort of surface, this, and a frustrating one, because there is a bit there that spins for the spinners, but it happens so slowly, and after a while, if you don't get anything from it, you start to get a bit downcast. I don't think Swann has ever bowled as badly, actually, in his fairly short England career as he has done today. So, I think it was quite easy for Australia to turn the screw in that session. And England, if I'm honest, they'll be staring at that weather forecast. I know you shouldn't do that. And they'll be hoping that the rain that is forecast for tomorrow lasts as long as possible. It's not a good situation to be in.
Well, there are a lot of Australian listeners under their blankets or dumping in their trucks who are very happy to hear what you're saying, Victor. I'm going to hand it over to Aggers as we break for tea at 4 for 458.